Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nigeria's Corner. Today, we're going to take a look at the show Girlfriends, a sitcom that aired in 2000 and focuses on the lives of four black women named Tony, Maya, Joan, and Lynn, who are best friends trying to navigate their very chaotic love lives and careers. In the first season of this show, it mostly focuses on Joan trying to keep the peace between her best friend Maya, her new best friend Maya, who's also her secretary at her law firm that she works at, her childhood best friend Tony, who is a real piece of work, and her college best friend Lynn, who is also her roommate. And she also has a budding relationship with a sex addict named Sean. In season two mostly focuses on Tony having to redeem herself in Joan's eyes after a betrayal leads to the breakup of their friendship. Meanwhile, Maya is dealing with marital issues with her husband Darnell and begins an emotional affair with another man, but that ends badly. In season 3, Maya and Darnell get a divorce after he learns about her affair. Joan dates a very whiny actor named Ellis, and Lynn finally meets her birth mom. In season 4, Maya writes a self-help book and flies to New York to get it published. Tony gets engaged to Todd, and Joan is bitter as hell about it. She also cheats on her boyfriend Ellis with his agent Brock and quits her job as a lawyer to open a restaurant. And also, Tony and Todd's marriage falls apart so fast it's actually kind of incredible. In season 5, Tony gets an ugly ass haircut and is pregnant with her first child, but she's also going through a messy divorce with Todd. Joan tries to date William, but that doesn't go so well. But she also needs his help to get her restaurant off the ground because it's kind of a failure. And also, Lynn tries to form a relationship with her birth dad and also tries to make her name for herself as a singer. And also, Maya and Darnell finally get back together. In season 6, which I consider to be the worst season of the show, Tony is struggling with motherhood while getting into a heated custody battle with Todd. And also, Joan's restaurant becomes a hit, but when it gets her a spot on a magazine cover, she lets her cover girl status go to her head, and it ends up ruining her friendship with Tony for good. In season 7, Tony is gone, and Joan has to reel from their second breakup while choosing her new boyfriend, Aaron. Also, William's girlfriend Monica takes Tony's place as the fourth girlfriend and gets engaged to William, though their marriage doesn't go as planned. Also, Lynn gets a record deal with Big Boy from Outkast. Yes, that Big Boy, the actual Big Boy from Outkast. Does that sound random? Because it is. In season 8, Aaron is sent off to Iraq, Maya has a miscarriage, Monica and William are expecting a baby, but we never see how any of these storylines are wrapped up because the show got prematurely canceled. Okay, I'll get to that later. Let's talk about the characters. The first character we're going to discuss is Miss Joan Carol Clayton herself. Joan is a hot mess. She's actually quite pathetic. She's man crazy. She's a good friend, but she's a pretty big people pleaser and kind of a pushover too. Something that annoys me about Joan is the way that she would constantly enable Tony's behavior in the first season. I'll get to Tony in a second, and even though Tony was mostly the problem in their friendship, Joan was the problem. Joan had issues too because she was a huge enabler. She's always letting Tony get away with doing awful things, and well, she's always giving her boyfriends a pass to do more awful things, but she's very hard on her other friends, namely Lynn and Maya, for doing bad stuff. And I'm not saying she should be, but it's very interesting who she gives passes to and who she doesn't. Now, here's the thing. Joan is the type of person who thinks that she needs a man to complete her, and that's very sad. A lot about Girlfriends didn't age well, and one of the biggest issues with this show is that it's very men focused. Like, you need a man to be happy, you need a man to be complete. This show really tries to shove that message down your throat, and no other character is a better example of that than Joan. Her entire life revolves around men. And she only has 2 good relationships in this show, in my opinion. Everybody else she dated was absolute garbage, but she stayed with them for the longest time. Ellis is the worst example. Ellis was a freaking nightmare. He was terrible. But here's the thing. Joan being men-centric and needing a man, thinking that she needs a man to complete her, also clashes with the fact that she's always sabotaging her relationships. Yeah, Joan, like I said before, she's a people pleaser, but at the same time, she likes to push men away. And I honestly don't know why. Like, she's a huge self-sabotager, but at the same time, she overcompensates. And she ends up, like, I don't want to say smothering, but like pushing her boyfriends away, and at the same time getting sad when they leave her. She's very desperate. She's very obsessed with men. She's kind of a pick-me, just a little bit of a pick-me, but she's more of like a self-sabotager, a people pleaser. She tries to be this like mom friend, and she is a good friend, but she just oversteps her boundaries too much. And she also sabotages almost every relationship that she's in, save for Aaron. Now the writers, they just hated her, and I don't really like Joan either. I think she's annoying, but I don't think she's like the worst. No, the worst is coming up next. Miss Tony Childs. Tony is a nightmare. Tony, you don't have to spend much time with Tony to see that she is a very, very insecure person. And I honestly cannot stand characters like this who are like really mean, really snobby, really bougie like Tony, when you can easily tell that she's very insecure. The reason why I don't like Tony is because of her awful behavior. She is a horrible friend to Joan. She's a terrible girlfriend. She's a terrible wife, and she's just a bad person in general. Tony is like 10 times more pathetic than Joan, and they have a very toxic friendship. And I'm not just throwing that word around, I mean genuinely. Not only is Tony too dependent on Joan, and Joan lets her get away with so much, but Tony is just very, very mean. She's mean, she's a bitch, she's snobby, she grew up poor, but she's extremely bougie. Now I understand that she has a kind of a sad backstory because her mom was an alcoholic, and she ended up running away from her home in Fresno. And the reason why she's so dependent on Joan is because they're childhood friends, and like I said before, Tony didn't have a good home life, so she mostly spent most of her time with Joan, and Joan was like family to her, but she's too dependent on Joan. And also, Tony is a horrible person. She's selfish as hell. She's snobby as hell. She's always pushing, like, let's talk about how she acts in relationships. Tony is even worse whenever she's dating someone. Like I mentioned before in my ranking girlfriends, breaking all the boyfriends from girlfriends video, I highly suggest you watch that one too. Tony dated two different men, Greg and Todd. Both these men were broke, and Tony is probably the shallowest person you will ever meet. For some reason, she decided to not only get in relationships with these men, but when she found out that they were broke, she did nothing but treat them like garbage, constantly scream at them, push them away, but at the same time, she wouldn't let them leave. No. Whenever they were about to leave her because they were tired of being treated like garbage, she would cry and beg them to stay with her, and they did. But eventually, she just kept on pushing them away, and then she got surprised when Greg dumped her ass and Todd wanted a divorce. I don't understand Tony. I really don't. It's like it's back and forth with Tony. Every time she's on the brink of changing her ways. She even went to therapy to try and sort out the issues with her mom, but that didn't go so well, and then she never went back. She redeemed herself with Joan when they had that friendship breakup in season 2 by going to church and like begging for forgiveness, begging God for forgiveness, and eventually Joan forgave her as well. It's a very beautiful, honestly tear-jerking scene, but then she went right back to her selfish, evil ass self like a few episodes later. I don't understand that. This is something that really breaks my heart about Tony. She's a very pathetic person, and she's honestly a very tragic character because she could change. Tony is not beyond redemption. Every time she's on the brink of changing, she goes right back to her old evil ass ways, and I really don't understand. And then at the end of season 6, she leaves the show because the actress who plays her left the show. And that honestly broke my heart. Tony is a very tragic figure. Tony is a nightmare. I have a feeling that Tony ends up being a good mother to Morgan, because I know that she does love her daughter. But, you know, you can't help people that don't want to be helped. Okay, next character is Lynn. Now, you may have noticed that in my season recap, I didn't really talk about Lynn that much, except the fact that she wanted to be a singer and that she found her birth parents because she's an adoptee. Well, that's because Lynn's purpose in this show is mostly just to be a mooch and to leech off her friends, to live in their houses, never get a job, and to get on my nerves. Like, I don't hate Lynn, but she's very annoying. She's just there to be lazy and a bum. She has like a bunch of degrees, but she has no job. She refuses to get a job for whatever reason. for whatever reason, I'm sorry. She refuses to get a job for whatever reason, and then she decides that she wants to be a singer, but her music is absolutely awful. Like, I don't know what. You gotta watch the show for yourself. Go to like the 6th, 7th, and 8th season and listen to how awful Lynn's music is, because it's really something to behold. Okay, next character is Maya. I love Maya. Maya's also pretty damn annoying too. All 4 of the girlfriends are annoying in their own way, because all 4 of them are very, I want to say unhinged characters. I'm sorry if my voice is cracking. Maya, I love Maya. She's actually one of the funniest girlfriends in this show. She's next to maybe William. I think she's the funniest character in this show. But the reason why I say Maya is annoying is because in season 2 or 3, I think, after she and Darnell get a divorce, Maya, I understand that she's heartbroken, but she becomes very obnoxious. Like, she's very rude. She's very woe is me. She's very loud. Like, she's kind of a stereotype of the loud, sassy ghetto black woman. But she's like a subversion of that stereotype. But she is loud as hell. That's one of the reasons why I couldn't stand her for a while. But eventually she gets back in my good graces. I do love Maya. But then she gets annoying again after she and Darnell get back together. Yeah, for some reason, now Darnell, he was an asshole in the beginning, but now he's a good husband. But now Maya is very annoying. Like I said again, she's very loud, she's always complaining, she's always very, very angry, and I don't know why. But I still love Maya. I think she gets on my nerves the least out of all 4 of the girls, because none of these 4 women are perfect. And you know, that's okay, but all 4 of them are actually kind of, let's just say I don't think you would want to be friends with any of them in real life. I know I would. Okay, next character, the last character, is actually William. William Dent is kind of a creep. He's kind of a misogynist. He has his weird fetish about lesbians. He's very funny. He's one of the funniest characters in the show. He's always talking to the girlfriends kind of crazy. Like, he's always calling them misogynistic words, like, you know, the B word. He casually makes little digs about their sex lives. Like, he once referred to Tony as Tony Chlamydia Childs because that time she cheated on Greg with that doctor and got a venereal disease. Yeah, he made fun of her for that. And also, he himself has a bunch of relationships throughout the series as well. He dates this cop named Yvonne, but he doesn't really treat her right. And then he dates Monica. He doesn't really treat her right. He doesn't really treat her. Well, he's not terrible to Monica. He loves Monica. He didn't treat her right at first in the beginning. Mostly Monica was the problem because she was a bit of a gold digger. But then William, he became the problem later on because he was trying to, he begged Monica to come back into his life. But at the same time, he kept pushing her away. This is something that I've noticed a lot. Joan, Tony, William, and actually no, just those 3. They're always sabotaging their relationships. All 3 of them desperately want to be booed up, but they keep pushing their boos away. Like, sometimes the people they date, they're awful, but most of the times they're the ones with problems too. And that's really something interesting that I've noticed. Even though a lot of things within this show haven't really aged that well, Girlfriends is still a phenomenal TV show, and I could not recommend it enough. Unfortunately, it got the axe pretty early, but compared to Moesha and Empire, this show probably got the closest thing to an ending, an actual ending, than Empire and Moesha ever did. So I cannot recommend it enough. It's on Netflix if you want to watch it. And hey, tell me about your own opinions about this show. So that concludes this video. If you like this video and you want to see more, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye!